All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pigeon Whole Motorcycle Podcast. I'm on today with Jared Weems, and you're in Tampa, is that right, Jared?
That's right. Hot, sweaty Tampa, Florida.
Ah, love it. It's not that hot here in Illinois, so how's the whole coronavirus going down there? You guys seem like it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, I guess Florida now we're considered the hub of all the disease. So
Congratulations, brother.
yeah, I blame it on the hot, sweaty mugginess. No, man, it's going good. It's
Good.
as far as I got friends that have local businesses and stuff. They're taking it a little bit harder because of the restrictions and everything. And but yeah, man, holding it down here as tight as we can.
Nice. All right, so we're going to start off right here. I know we have a lot of interesting things to talk about today and some meaningful things. So let's start and just tell us a little bit how you got into motorcycles and why I see Triumph everywhere.
Well, that's a good starter, man. So yeah, motorcycles for me started really young. My dad was a biker guy, worked on motorcycles, and had a little bit of everything, man. Old Triumphs, old Yamahas, Harleys, pretty much anything you could think of. Had his own business at one point, working on custom motorcycles, and what kind of started me off is a story that my mom tells all the time, that I was about 6 or 7 years old. And my dad was at work and I was at home, and just like the old bikers do, they built their motorcycles inside their house because they didn't have a garage or a shop. And lo and behold, Dad comes home and little old me is taking all of his tools and working on his motorcycle, taking it apart.
I'm sure you appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine my brother, he's a couple of years older. My brother says, yeah, I got scared and ran. So, yeah.
Now, how old were you when that started?
I'd say probably around 6 or 7, but
Oh,
didn't get really into bikes until, yeah, I was a little kid, man. Got into bikes probably, I think I had my first bike around 11 or 12. It was a 1978 Honda XR75 dirt bike, and I ended up cutting the swing arm off of it and modifying a whole new swing arm, where I fabricated. I took a Honda 110 three-wheeler, took the hub and the axle out, mounted it into the rear section of the swing arm, and made like a trike out of it. And I used to take that thing to the drag strip in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and drag race that thing against like these crazy hopped up, Kawasaki's and Hondas and stuff. It was a blast. I was like 12, 13 years old.
wow, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. That thing would um, it took me a while to realize that it was geared way crazy and I couldn't keep the front end on the ground. So I ended up having to fabricate wheelie bars for it to keep the front end on the ground. So for a little 175, it had some torque, but it was geared crazy.
So then, after you're playing around with that, what happens to you?
Well, I kind of, after that, just piddled around. I grew up in the backwoods of Tennessee, right on the Alabama state line, and had three-wheelers, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, pretty much anything with wheels and a motor I really enjoyed as a kid, but never really got into street bikes until it was around 2004. In 2003, I joined the military, joined the Army, and became a parachute rigger for special operations, and was getting ready to deploy to Iraq. And went to my dad and said, hey, I've been really thinking about getting a bike. And if I ever make it back, or if I make it back from the deployment, that I want to find an old Triumph. And so keep your ear to the ground, see if you can find one. And so I deployed to Iraq, and that was 2004, and came home and went to visit my parents. And Dad says, I got something special for you. Took me out to the storage unit, and I opened the doors, and there was a 1972 Triumph Bonneville fully restored. And he's like, here, this is a gift for you because you joined the military, served your country. And I was like, man, I was just floored, and I was super excited. So that kind of started my thing. And Triumph's kind of my brand. It's what I know. It's what I love. It's what I, remember from being a kid. So I kind of stuck around with that brand.
Wow. Well, hey, thank you for your service to our country as well, my friend.
Well, David, a lot of people tell me that all the time, and my reply is always, "Thank you for the paycheck," because I wouldn't have done it if you didn't pay me. A lot of guys, a lot, there's honor in serving your country, and I believe that wholeheartedly, and it's a great thing, and I feel very proud that I did that. But really, I did. I joined the military for a job. I was just engaged to my wife, getting ready to start a family and a career, and just needed something that offered benefits, man. And the military, they have an excellent benefit program, so that's why I joined.
Wow. You could have picked a less dangerous job, but yeah, it's good.
What, jumping out of airplanes and getting paid for it? Man, that's a blast.
No, that sounds great. So okay, so you get home, and I had chills when you were talking about your dad having this Triumph for you. So do you just get on and start riding, or you get back into monkeying around with it, or what are you doing?
Well, no, it was fully restored, amazing bike. So I just had to go through the process, get my license. I already knew how to ride from being, on bikes pretty much my whole life. But yeah, started pedaling on it and enjoying it. I was in the military full time and then special operations. So if you know anything about that, we're constantly deploying. So every 6 to 9 months, we're back in the combat zone. And so through the midst of that, would work on the bike, ride it a lot. And so I quickly realized that I wanted another one. This one was immaculate, but I wanted something a little bit more stripped down, something that I can modify or customize. And so I caught the bug real hard and just started buying old Triumphs, basket cases, old bobbers and choppers, and just started collecting them up and working on it, figured out how to work on them. A lot of those late nights in Iraq, just sitting there reading manuals from a Triumph,
Sure.
So it was good, man.
That's cool. Okay, so anybody listening that doesn't know Jared, so I ran across him. I don't know, tooling through YouTube or Vimeo or something, and I see this video, which has an awesome story. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but the reason that we're talking today is because I got to see this video. So walk us through that, because this is anybody listening, you better sit down, because this is friggin' mind blowing. I love it.
So yeah, big story was, after collecting all those bikes and stuff, I started, working on them, customizing them for friends, and kind of started my own little shop out of my garage when I was stationed up at Fort Campbell, and ended up having 12 motorcycles in a one-car garage, and had to wheel them out. To work on anything, and then wheel them back in when you're done. It was a lot. And in the midst of that, deploying. So that was kind of my life for a long time. And I was there at Fort Campbell with 5th Special Forces Group for 7.5 years, deployed 5 combat rotations to Iraq. And then the Army said, well, we're gonna give you a break. We're gonna make you a drill sergeant for a couple of years. So
Okay.
I was like, I didn't know what I was walking into. Quickly realized that was not a break, that I would rather be deployed in Iraq than to have to do what I was doing. But it was cool. So I went to Virginia. I was at Virginia, just on the south side of Richmond, for a couple years. And while I was there, had the awesome opportunity to meet Clay Rathburn from Atom Bomb Custom Cycles. Kind of partnered up with him, started working out of his shop for 2 years, built some amazing bikes there, built some bikes for some well-known people, competed in the Ultimate Biker Build-Off in 2012. Had a great time, man. It was just a really good experience. Clay is an amazing fabricator. He's actually going to be building a bike for the Hand Built show this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he pulls out. So yeah, while I was there, I built my first show bike. It was a 1951 Triumph Thunderbird that was named Simples, featured in a couple magazines. It was featured in Greasy Culture, issue number 38, and the Horseback Street Choppers, issue number 128. Super fun bike. It was neat building. That was my first pre-unit Triumph, and got a lot of attention. Had a good time, and then shortly after that, came up. My 2 years were up at Virginia, so the Army said, "Well, now that you've done everything that we've asked you to do, you get to pick where you want to go as long as they have a job for you." And home was Tampa. Yeah, no, super cool. Home's Tampa, and so I was like, you know what? Let me find out if there's any job positions open in Tampa. And sure enough, there just happened to be one open. And so I re-enlisted to come to Tampa, and it was probably about a year and a half after I got down to Tampa. I started having a lot of health issues. Had a lot of weird symptoms, a lot of fatigue, a lot of dizziness, vertigo. Just a lot of crazy things started happening. Started going to the doctors trying to figure out what was going on. Eventually, they ran an MRI, found out I have a brain tumor, and shortly after that, I started having seizures. And so, when the seizures started happening, it really kind of made me take a step back. Brain tumor and seizures, I was really concerned and didn't know if I was going to live, 3 years from now or 3 days from now. So I pretty much sold everything that I had, all the bikes, all the tools, all the machines. What I couldn't sell, I gave to my brother up in Tennessee, told him to just take it, do whatever you want with it. And just kind of walked away from motorcycles and just really said, I need to reevaluate life right now. What's important, my wife, my family, my kids. And so yeah, it made me kind of take a step back and really kind of reevaluate. And then the Army worked their magic, ended up medically retiring me. And so I'm now considered 100% permanent total disabled through the military. I don't really work other than on motorcycles. It's kind of my thing. I have a part-time job with our church. Actually, it's a pretty cool position where I teach life skill classes. Teach like basic automotive skills, carpentry classes, cooking, CPR, first aid certification for the community, and paid for by the church. So it's super awesome. Keep my hands busy. Finished out my degree in psychology. But yeah, long story. But
yes. Well, before you go to the next thing, how are you now, physically? Everything good?
Doing great, man. You know what? I have to say thank you for inviting me on today, David, because tomorrow, July 15th, marks 1 year that I've been seizure-free.
Yes.
So I'm stoked about that. It's like, congratulations, that I've made it this far. So it's definitely gives a very positive vibe for what I got coming up this fall.
Right. No, that's great. Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad. So health is back in order. And I keep my fingers crossed that stays that way. So you have you got a lot more bikes to build. So you got to be hanging around,
Don't tell my wife.
Exactly. No, I mean, you need to be around for your family and not do, it's a very,
awesome.
very strange thing. I can't even imagine. So how old were you when you knew that you had the brain tumor?
So that was in 2016. So I'm be 42 this year. So 37, 38 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty young, man. It was, but I've had some great doctors here in the Tampa area. Some amazing people really, come alongside, and I'm doing well.
Awesome. All right, so you go through this stuff, and then you decide you want to get. How do you get back into motorcycles?
Well, I have to give that up to my newfound friend Mike Davis out at Born Free. Um, he had posted up on Instagram, and that this year at Born Free, they're going to actually be hosting a Triumph pre-unit only class, and I was just like, man, this is right up my alley. It's what I love, old Triumphs, especially the pre 1962 Triumphs. And I was like, I've never been to California. I've always wanted to go to California. I was like, this would be an amazing opportunity. And so I just kind of reached out, started talking through him through Instagram Messenger, saying, hey, what's the details on this? Is it invite only? Kind of what kind of timeline and everything we're looking at. And so we struck out a good conversation. I showed him some pictures of my last show bike that I built, and he remembered it from being in greasy culture and stuff. So super cool. So I went to my wife and I said, hey, I got this opportunity to build a bike, and she was like, okay. She had a couple questions. She was like, when is it? How much is it going to cost? And where is it? And so I kind of went through those questions. I was like, originally Born Free was supposed to have been in the late June. So I told her that. She was like, well, can you even build a bike in 6 months? Because this was November. And I was like, I can, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to talk because I'm just a one-man show,
Yeah.
And I was like, I can, but it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of time. And she was like, okay. And then she was like, well, how much is it going to cost? And we talked, finances and stuff. And she was like, all right. She's like, you're going to sell it when you get done, right? And at that time, I was like, yeah, this is just, build a bike, sell a bike, flip it, whatever. And I've done it many times before. So that was the initial plan. And so she's like, okay. And then she asked where it was at. And I told her it was California. And she was like, can I go with you? And I was like, absolutely. Let's make this a big family thing. Bring the kids, drive cross country from Florida to California, hit all the hot spots. So I got permission from Mama and contacted Mike back and said, I'm all in. And then came, all right, well, what am I going to build?
Right. So this one comes along. What inspiration do you get from this one to build it?
Yeah. So yeah, this was kind of a cool story that falls right in with everything that's going on. I was right after I found out about the brain tumor. I had a good friend. He's a long-haired, long-bearded biker dude that lives pretty close to me, and his name's Mouse. And he came to me and gave me this old framed centerfold of a David Mann painting. And in this painting was a Triumph motorcycle, a Triumph pre-unit motorcycle. And it kind of floored me because I never knew David Mann had ever painted a Triumph motorcycle. He's known for Harley Davidsons and everything. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And he gave it to me just as a gift, knowing I was going, knew I loved Triumphs. And it was all sun faded. You could just barely, make out what it was. And so that painting sit on my shelf for a long time, just as a sense of piece of art, something cool. And I had a friend of mine whose dad had passed away. We're friends in the military, and he lived up in Illinois, and his family was needing help with his estate. Dad had a large motorcycle collection, and so they'd asked me if I'd help them out with selling off some of the motorcycles and try to take care of some of that side of all of the stress from the family. So I did. Drove 19 and a half hours straight from Tampa to Illinois, picked up a trailer full of Triumphs and brought them back and just started help, get them out on the market for the family. And as a gift, they ended up giving me a 1952 Triumph Speed Twin. And I was like, I didn't need another motorcycle. This was in the midst of, brain tumors and seizures and stuff. I was just like, I don't need it, but thanks. And it was an honor to be able to accept that. And so I had that bike, and so when I talked to Mike Davis, it just kind of these things started falling together. I was like, man, how cool would it be to recreate that motorcycle into real life? And that became the plan. And quickly discovered that it wasn't going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be.
Can imagine. So, is this a real bike? A real bike in the painting?
So no, no. I through my research, I had to get in touch with number one. I had to get in touch with Easy Riders magazine. The picture was actually out of Iron Horse magazine, which was a syndicate of Easy Riders back then, and found out what publication it was in, what issue, so I could get on eBay and try to find one of these magazines, because the one I had is just sun faded. I couldn't even tell what colors. And so I found out which one it was. It was out of July of 1983, Iron Horse magazine. Got a good copy of it, got it back, and seen these beautiful colors that he had used in this painting. And so yeah, then I quickly discovered that he decided to use some of the most rare Triumph parts in this painting, which made it fun trying to source out some of those parts. But yeah, it was never really a real motorcycle. I found out from April of '83, there was a Triumph in Iron Horse magazine that was positioned in the same stance that this motorcycle was. So I think he used that as inspiration for his painting, but it didn't have the same tank, it didn't have the same bars, it didn't have the same paint scheme. So he just kind of used it as the foundation, I believe. And so I got both of those magazines just to kind of glean. So, okay, what am I looking at? You know, painting versus a reality. And man, then came the hunt for all those crazy parts.
I bet that was fun.
Uh, it was fun until you start paying for stuff.
Right, right. So how long does this take to put together? Is this the one you're going to do for Born Free? So you had like a 6-month deadline with rare parts?
That's it, man. I started scouring the interwebs looking. There's a community of Triumph builders that I'm part of. A lot of these guys that build the custom bikes, and it's a small community of us. And so we all the time trading around parts. Hey, I need this, you got that, and we just flip around and switch out parts quite a bit. And there was a few things that they had, and a few things that I had to look on the internet over in England to see if I could find. But luckily, man, I was able to source all of it. Probably the hardest part was the tank. The tank wasn't anything that you can buy on the market. It was the shape and everything was just custom. So I ended up finding an old Mustang tank, an old Mustang little bike tank, and I ended up narrowing that thing 6 inches out of the middle of it. So I narrow it down, re-weld everything up, put a new tunnel in it, just to get it to the right size and the right shape. And it was a challenge, man, but I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It's been a blast.
So these fabrication skills that you have, are these something you learned along the way somewhere? Or is this self-taught?
So kind of half and half. When I was in high school, I went to trade school and took machine shop there, and ended up after graduating high school, went and became a machinist, worked in all kinds of machine shops doing fabrication things. Most of it worked on the mills, lathes, and all the brakes and everything. Not a whole lot of sheet metal experience though. That wasn't until probably when I was up in Virginia working with Clay. He's an amazing fabricator. I used to watch this guy hand hammer tanks out of aluminum and weld them all up, and then we wouldn't paint them. It was just raw aluminum, fully polished, and you could see the work that goes into it, and just amazing job that he did. So I gleaned a lot of it from him, working there at his shop. So I brought a little bit of that to the table here, and what's been fun about this build is I don't have my mill, I don't have my lathe, I got like a little flux core MIG welder and angle grinders. And I was like, you know what? That guy in that painting for this motorcycle back in the 70s, he didn't have a TIG welder. He didn't have all of this mess. He built it with what he had in his garage. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the same exact thing. It's going to be a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult, but
Sure.
I'm going to do it. And that's, man, it's been fun doing it. It's been harder, but it's been
Yeah.
fun, challenging.
Okay, so did you have it done by June?
I did. So Mike released that the Born Free was going to be pushed back until September. In early May is when he made that decision. So I was on path to have everything done, and everything essentially was done, except for my chrome shop had lost one piece. And so I was like, yeah. So it was a mess trying to hunt that down, that one little battery strap. And so I ended up having to buy a new one, get it over to the chrome shop, have them chrome it, and then get it back to me. So if it weren't for that one piece of chrome, it would have been done in the trailer, ready to go to Born Free. But thank God that he worked some sort of timeline with COVID that pushed it back. So
Right. So now you're planning on being there in September, correct?
absolutely, yeah. Now we're going to be
Good.
there in September, and what's amazing about through this whole process is the communication with Easy Rider magazine and telling them what I'm doing, the inspiration of the build. They've decided they're going to be featuring it in the new Easy Riders magazine. If you've probably seen over the last few months, they've kind of remarketed, rebranded. They had a whole new group of people come in and redeveloping the magazine. So what we're going to do is when we get out to LA, we're going to recreate the painting into real life.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, it's super neat. A lot of research in the painting, like, you know what, in the painting, the motorcycle is sitting in front of an old hot dog stand,
Right.
and I was like, how cool would it be if that hot stand were a real thing? And so I
Right.
got online and started doing some research and actually found out that hot dog stand was a real thing in LA. It was called Tell of the Pup, and it was you know, these old Hollywood architecture, you know, buildings that look like everybody knows the big donut and all these.
Sure.
Well, this was one of those Hollywood hotspots. It was a hot dog stand called Tell of the Pup, and so I started getting on the interwebs and seeing if it was still around. And I found out that a few years ago that it had went out of business and somebody had bought it. And that kind
Okay.
of left me at a dead end. And until I was talking to some guys about my build that I'm doing for Born Free, and sent a picture of the original painting. And one of the guys in this Instagram group, he's like, I know the guy that has the hot dog stand. And I was like, no freaking way.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, let me reach out to him and see if it's cool to pass his number on to me. And he reached out to him, and sure enough, he was cool with it. And matter of fact, he wanted to know about it because he's a motorcycle guy. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like, who's this motorcycle guy? And come to find out, it's Bobby Green, which owns Old Crow Speed Shop, LA. And he actually won Born Free a few years back. And so we got to talking. I told him what I was doing, and I was like, man, I'd love the opportunity to, you know, take pictures with the motorcycle at the hot dog stand. And he's like, well, it's in really rough shape. We're actually going to do a restoration on it and everything. And so we started talking, and he just fell in love with the idea of doing it. And he said, you know what, I'm going to have my guys restore the hot dog stand just for this. And so Bobby went to work on it, and he's going to have it all ready for us when we get there in September. And we're going to do the photo shoot for Easy Rider magazine, and it's just going to be a blast, man. It's going to be a good time.
These are the kind of stories you can't even make up, man.
I know that this whole thing has been like that for me, you know, and I'm a believer, man. I love Jesus and stuff, but I'm going to hang out with anybody at the bar. We're going to drink some beers. We're going to throw down and have a good time too. But I just think, sometimes that, God allows things to fall into place, and I think that's kind of what's been happening with is this whole thing has become way more than little old Jared could ever even scheme up or try to think up of ever happening. That these things are just happening, and so yeah, man, it's gonna be a great journey with this bike over the next few months.
Wow, and it must be a big honor for you to have Easy Rider say, "Hey, we want to recreate this, and we want you in the magazine." That's got to be really cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been in, like I said, I've been in greasy culture, I've been in the horse, but man, to say that, Easy Rider was what we all known from when we were kids and our dads had the magazines, to say that, hey, I'm a part of this thing that's way bigger than me, this thing of the history of motorcycle culture and motorcycle community, just to say that I got a little piece of a little part of that, and to bring light, you know, to a whole new generation of builders and kids who David Mann was, because his art was what influenced our parents to build motorcycles. So to see these kids maybe catch a glimpse of, this old bike that he painted and say, man, that's cool. I wonder if I could do that. Well, I tell you what, you can do that because I've done it. It's not easy and it's going to take a little bit of time and a lot of effort, but it can definitely happen. But it's been a blast. I've actually had the opportunity to email back and forth with Jackie Mann, which is David Mann's wife, to tell her, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want to honor your husband the best way possible. And so she's kind of come alongside of us too, to bring some light on this. And there's a lot of cool things that are going to be happening come here in 2 months. It's gonna be crazy.
Yes, how exciting is that? So do you have plans to bring this bike some other places this year?
Oh yeah. So Born Free is just going to be the beginning of it. So we're going to have the bike at Born Free in September. Then the first weekend in October, we're going to a show here in Florida called Plant City Bike Fest. Bike's going to be featured there. A couple weeks after that, we're going to be up in North Carolina at the Congregation Show. And then in November, we've been in talks back and forth with the Hand Built Show out there in Austin, Texas. I love the honor to do that. So we're just trying to work out some of those details. And then the first weekend in December, I'm going to be at Wheels of Steel. It's an indoor invited only build show here in Florida. And a week after that, heading back out to California to Ventura for Chopper Fest, which is the David Mann show, which that's the biggest honor to. Yeah, that's where this bike needs to be. So I'm excited about that. They're actually going to be covering a vendor spot just for the motorcycle to be featured. So super cool. Lisa and Tori out there, amazing people doing this. And then that rolls into January, first weekend in January. There's a show here in Tampa called Chopperama. It's actually their second year. It's an amazing show. It's run by a friend of mine, Eric Runyon, who works for Born to Ride Media. He also owns Gears and Glory. He's a photographer for the motorcycle industry. He's worked with a lot of big names. He's done stuff with Sons of Speed and Billy Lane and Matt Woxler, all these guys. And so he puts on this show. It's an invite-only indoor show here in Tampa, Florida in January. And then February, I'm kind of just putting my feelers out there a little bit to see what else is available. And then March, we're going to be at Bike Week down in Daytona, and that's going to kind of wrap it up for me and the bike. It's going to go on to somebody else at that point.
Nice. Before we go on to that, you got to get Mama Tried on your list up here in Milwaukee too.
Yeah, man. When is that?
If I remember correctly, I want to say it's end of February, beginning of March. Yeah. Not that you have anything to do.
No, I have nothing in February. I have nothing planned for February. I would love to do it. as you mostly know, a lot of these shows are invite only, shows,
Sure.
and Mama Tried is right up there with the cream of the crop, and I would love the opportunity to get the bike there just to tell the story, um, and to bring to light the organization that I'm working with this bike.
Yes, so let's talk about that because you know what? I love the bike. I love your style, but let's talk about something that you can make a difference, I can make a difference, and everybody listening to the show right now can help out. So let's talk about this organization.
Sure, man. So in the midst of building this bike and the whole story, kind of like what I said, it's bigger than me. That I quickly realized that I have an amazing opportunity to kind of pay it forward in a way that a whole lot of people don't have that opportunity to do. And through working in the life skills realm, I found out about this local organization called Forgotten Angels. And what they do is they're a nonprofit organization based here out of the Tampa Bay area who bring in teenagers who have aged out of the foster care system. Basically, what that means is, kids put into foster care, a family comes along and brings them in and provides a home, a safe place for them, food, and because they do that, the state of Florida gives them a compensation, because it's not cheap raising kids. So it's amazing thing that the state does that. But unfortunately, what happens is a lot of families only foster just for the money, and
Hmm.
that's a really unfortunate thing. And what happens is these kids, once they hit 18 years old, as the state of Florida considers them adult, and they no longer pay for them. And so these families basically say, we're not getting any money anymore, so you got to go. And so they could get room for another kid to come in and get paid. Um, it's unfortunate, man. Some of these kids aren't even graduated out of high school, and they're basically kicked out onto the streets, whether they, have a car or they live in their car, or God forbid they, live behind the trash bin behind the grocery store. And so what Forgotten Angels does is they bring these kids in and provide them a home and a safe place to be. And they have a amazing 12-acre property here in Florida, um, and they build tiny homes for these kids. They bring them in. If they need to finish graduating high school, they help them get through high school or do a GED. They start getting them set up with things like bank accounts, get them, job interviews, try to get them on their feet as much as possible, or get them into college, whatever the kids want to do. They're there to support them. And dude, it's, it's an amazing thing that they do to go over there and just hang out with some of these kids, man, has been some of the highlights of my last 6 months to kind of invest in these kids. And man, I even bring them over here to the shop and say, hey, if you're into mechanics or you want to learn how to weld, I'll teach you how to weld. You want to, do these things. I bring these kids over and just have a blast. I call them kids. They're 18 to 22
Right.
years old. So they're young men, young adults. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take this bike. I'm going to join hands with them for what they're doing. And I'm going to put this bike up for raffle, and all of the proceeds go to Forgotten Angels. So we've
Wow.
come together, and so we've come together and kind of worked out the plan, the marketing, and it quickly became a lot more than I was wanting to get into. It's easy to build a motorcycle and just sell it to somebody saying, hey, you want to buy my bike? All right, here you go. But to organize the raffle and all the marketing and everything that goes along with it, and then working with a nonprofit, all of the make sure that our legal T's and I's are dotted, T's are crossed. It's a lot of work. It's not just an easy thing to say, hey, I got this bike up for raffle, buy some tickets. So yeah,
Wow.
Forgotten Angels, man. Go over to www.forgottenangelsflorida.org and see what these guys are doing. It's amazing.
Nice. And we're going to put a link in there too. So anybody listening now, I'm going to put it in the show notes here as well. So if you're listening to this, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, whatever, if you want that link, we'll make it clickable right down there. So definitely check that out. So are there Wow, I'm a little blown away. So I love your story because we're in these highs, and obviously your health issues, but then just random things bring you back to do something great, and now you're traveling everywhere, and now you're giving back. It's amazing, brother.
Well, I thank you, man. Like I said, I don't want any credit. And I've told this to many people. It's not about me. I could care less if I get a commission bill to, out of this. I could care less. I'm going to build motorcycles regardless. But man, it's all about getting as much exposure for them as possible, and being able to raise as much money as we possibly can for them. One of the great things that's going to come out of it, actually, at Born Free, is one of their main spokespersons is Quentin Aaron. And if you've ever seen the movie The Blind Side,
Yes,
where he's a football player, Sandra Bullock and what's that country guy's name?
Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw. There you go. So yeah, he was the lead actor in The Blind Side, and he's going to be with us at Born Free to be able to publicize the bike and talk to people about what they do and everything too. So it's gonna be super awesome time out there. It's gonna be really fun.
Wow, and that's the guy who's the actor, the football player, that he was the foster child.
Yeah. Yes,
Wow,
exactly.
that's so cool.
That's why
Well, I,
he's got a big passion for what they're doing. So it's awesome to see him come alongside too.
Wow. Okay, so if somebody before this, obviously the raffle for the bike probably won't start until you're about done with things, or when do you foresee that happening?
So originally we set it up to the raffle was going to start at Born Free, just as unveiling reveal. But as we've been going, we've been getting so much exposure, and I have people every day. Hey, I want to buy tickets. Hey, I want to buy tickets. So we're going to be opening it up a little bit early. Right now, it's going to be soon. That's basically all I got to say. We're getting all of our marketing things in. Once I have
Sure.
everything in place, the tickets, you'll be able to purchase the tickets through my website, which is www.weemsmotorco.com. There's a raffle tab up there, and it'll bring you in, and it'll give you all the rules, regulations, and you can get the tickets right off my website and get those taken care of. Tickets are only going to be $25 a piece.
Oh,
If you want to make a generous donation of $100, you bonus ticket, you get 5 tickets.
sure.
So I know we're going to receive a lot of support, but I'm excited for the guy that buys one ticket and wins the motorcycle. That's what I'm excited for. But even if you don't win anything, there's a lot of prizes that we're actually doing, prize packages. But even if you don't win anything, just know that $25 is going to support these kids, and that's what I care about the most. I
Sure.
built an amazing motorcycle, did did a lot of time and effort and passion behind it, but it's all about what I can do for this organization.
Right. Well, thank you for that too, because that's I love spreading the word about good things and ways people. I mean, for $25, everybody that's listening to the show right now should buy one ticket. I mean, it's 25
Absolutely.
bucks. It helps out everybody in it. That's when you talk about it taking a big community. If everybody that heard about it bought one ticket, your goals are going to be, that's going to be way above and beyond. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was kind of talking with some other people the other day. The raffle essentially is going to start in September, and it's going to carry all the way through the end of Bike Week, which is March, the second
Sure.
week in March. So that's 6 months. Even if you just bought one ticket a month, that'll buy you 6 tickets, and you have that opportunity to win this. And it's not just the motorcycle. That's the greatest thing about this is the first place winner, yeah, they win the motorcycle, but they also get a bonus. Easy
Yeah.
Riders has decided to release the painting in a limited edition run of prints. And because of wanting to join along with me and what we're doing, they said, we're going to give you numbered print 1, and it's the only one that's on wrapped canvas. So the winner is going to get the motorcycle and print number 1 of this David Mann painting on canvas wrap. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah. Second place, Bill, great guy from Builtwell Industries. Everybody knows them. He loves what we're doing. He said, you know what? I'm going to give you one of our Gringo Spectrum helmets that's actually painted in the same color scheme as the motorcycle. I'm going to give that to you to give to the second place winner. And I was like, man, I'm so honored that you did this, and I didn't even, I didn't expect anything. And then right after that, Tyler from Lowbrow Customs, he says, you know what? I'm good friends with Bill and Builtwell, and I'm going to give you guys a package of all the lowbrow custom swag, and you can give that away to, at the, at the raffle, for the third place winner. So we have this huge lowbrow customs package. And then the fourth place winner, man, you never hear of fourth place winners, right?
No, not usually. Yeah.
Yeah. I just got so much stuff. I was like, I want to make sure people walk away with something. So fourth place is actually going to win the David Mann official store. They gave a bunch of items from the David Mann store. And but I'm going to add into that package some of my T-shirts and stickers and patches and hats and things. So fourth place walks away with the David Mann and Weems Motor Co. package. So
wow,
definitely worth the investment. You got 4 opportunities. Some amazing, and like I said, if you don't win, you still won because you donated to this organization that needs so much help.
Right, and it's cool to see, and I'm sure that the response for this is going to be enormous, Jared, as you probably already know that before you even get started, you got people barking up your tree, so to say.
Yeah, I got people overseas barking up my tree already. So I'm like, all right, what's the dynamics of international sales and shipping and stuff? So me and the people from you know what, we're going to be generous with the shipping to be able to help out people as much as possible.
Sure.
So whoever wins the motorcycle, if it's within a 300-mile radius of Tampa area, we're going to deliver for free. Anything beyond that, we're going to cover $500 shipping. So,
That's
it's
cool.
going to cover a lot there to be able to get this motorcycle there. Unfortunately, we can't cover 100% of shipping.
Right.
But $500, if you bought one ticket for $25, I think you did well getting an amazing motorcycle, and you could definitely appreciate having a little bit of help on the shipping.
Yeah, I think they would be fine. All right,
Yeah.
so let's switch gears here, and finally, too, just folks remember that we'll have the Forgotten Angels. We're going to have the links in the show notes here. They're also going to be on our Instagram and Facebook posts when we post Jared's show. So obviously, you're listening to this, you found it somewhere. So wherever you're looking, you'll find it. So help out. $25 a month. That's what I'm thinking. That's good. All right, so
Wow.
Jared's not an avid listener of the Pigeon Hole here, so I don't know whether he knows what's coming next or not. But I'm really interested to see what you're going to have to say about this, brother. So
Sure.
at the end of almost all of our shows, I ask our guests to nominate like 3 different people that you would love to hear on the show. So you'd say, "Oh my God, Dave, I gotta listen to this show." So um, I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
All right. Okay. So you talk about people that you would enjoy to interview, is what you're saying.
Yeah, as long as they're in the motorcycle realm, however it happens, it doesn't
Yeah.
even matter.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to throw my good buddy. I mentioned him earlier, Eric Runyon. Man, he's been a huge supporter of this. He's worked in the motorcycle industry as a photographer for a long time. Worked for a lot of different publications. But yeah, Eric Runyon, and I can give you his contact information offline.
Sure.
Somebody else. This guy, he has an amazing story himself. His name is Tom Heavy, and that's Heavey, and he actually won at Born Free last year. And this guy, he was not an invited builder to Born Free. What had happened was one of the builders wasn't going to meet their timeline, and Mike Davis had been tracking his motorcycle build online, and at the last minute said, "Hey, one of our builders fell out. Will you, bring your bike to the show?" and he built a pre-unit Triumph and brought it to the show. And what's cool about Born Free is during the show, Moon Eyes actually selects one motorcycle to get sponsored to go to the Yokohama Hot Rod Show over in Japan. And he was selected to go to that last year. And all of this was just a walk-on for him. Amazing guy, very humble, but he's been helping me out a lot on the backgrounds with the connections at the Congregation Show up in North Carolina. But yeah, amazing guy. He's a garage builder, built it right out of his house, built what he wanted to build, what he liked, and man, went out and won the World Series of, motorcycle shows. So super cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be my go-to two. A third, man, there's a lot of ties there. So, but I think those two are on the top of the list.
Cool. Do you know Tom's Instagram by any chance?
I do. I can give you all the information.
Sure.
I can get you connected with them.
Yeah, and then we'll put it in the show here too, because we like to give people props who's coming out there. All right, so let's end this way, because we're getting close to about an hour here. So, what is next for Jared?
All right, here we go, man. This is cool. There's been a little anticipation building throughout my research of David Mann and Triumphs. I found out that he only painted 2 Triumphs his whole career, and obviously I built one, and I'm going to be building the second one, which is pretty exciting. The second one was actually featured in his very first painting called Hollywood Run, that was featured in Easy Riders. And it's not, what's great about this bike is it's like in a stack of motorcycles, it's like the third one back. So there's less detail. So it leaves a little bit more, open for interpretation, makes it a little bit easier for building, but it's super cool. It's definitely a 60s style Triumph chopper, big, huge ape hangers, big, 5 feet tall, sissy bar, little hardtail chopper. So I'm actually going to be building that bike. I'm trying to have that at the Chopperama show in January here in Tampa. In the midst of all of these travels throughout the fall, I'm going to attempt. It may be in raw form. Sure. It may not be painted. It may be painted. I don't know. So that's kind of the next thing on the agenda, is enjoying doing another old pre-unit Triumph.
Right. So you're like you're retired, but you're working full time, basically, is what you're telling me.
That's it, man. Like I said, God's really blessed me, man. He, going through all the medical stuff and being retired from the military, I receive a pension from that. It's not anything substantial, which, nobody would expect. But, from doing my little part-time job with the church, receiving my pension, and then my wife's, she's a wonderful hairstylist for Redken Corporation. So, we're able to make things happen. We don't live this, extravagant life. We do enough to make ends meet, and God's really taking care of us. So, right. I would love the opportunity to keep doing it, keep pounding away at these bikes.
Yeah, and for some strange reason, I think you will.
I will at my pace. I won't have 12 motorcycles in a one-car garage again. I won't do that. So.
All right, I have one more question for you, because it just came in my head. So I was going through your Instagram and I was looking at all this stuff. So I like you had a bunch of videos when Roland was doing the Corona biker build off or whatever it said.
Yeah, man.
But so the only thing I caught before we talked today was, so I'm going to build this bike, but I'm going to spend no money. How'd that
work? Roland put out the challenge because we're all stuck at home for the quarantine. And I was in the midst of all of my frame and all of my chrome and everything was out at the vendors getting done. So the shop was, the garage was empty. And I was like, I knew that I was on this timeline for this Born Free build. That's priority 1. But on the flip side, I had a good friend, Alex, that I had bought this other 1952 Triumph Thunderbird from, and it had just been sitting in the garage, just kind of collecting dust. And so he put out this challenge. I was like, you know what? That'll light a fire underneath my butt. But then I opened my big fat mouth and I said, you know what? I'm going to act like it's the apocalypse. Your money is no good. You can't go on the internet and order parts. You use what you got in the garage and you make it happen. And so I had been collecting parts up for a while, and I've always had a lot of Triumph parts. And I was like, I think I have enough to do this. And so I like an idiot, I put my big foot in my mouth and jumped on Instagram and posted this video. I was like, I'll take your challenge. I'm going to one up you, and I'm going to do it in 14 days. And without even looking at the bike really in detail, the motor. And I bought the bike off of a dude's back porch. It had been sitting there for like 10 years. And before that, it was sitting in a motorcycle shop for 40 years, all without the top end of the motor on it. So all the junk was just loading up in the bottom end of the cases. And so day one was like, all right, I got to figure out if this motor's even doable, and quickly realized that it was horrible. And yeah, it was tough. And so, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to keep pounding away. And it's like, luckily enough, I had the top end. I had an extra top end laying around. But the bad part was the bottom end of this motor. The crankshaft was just, it was good for a boat anchor, but I didn't have any replacements. So I had to go in and start cleaning, this thing up. But man, I did it. I did day 14. I fired the thing up and I rode it down the road, even with its old 50-year-old Dunlop dry rotted tires on it. So
Oh my God.
ended up winning. I ended up winning a set of Dunlop tires from the coronavirus bike build off. So I was like, that's super cool. So I got
That's
tires
great.
to put on it now. I still haven't put them on there, but I'm just enjoying it. I'm actually going to be, that bike got a lot of attention. I call it the Rainmaker, because the buddy of mine whose dad passed away, he had a load of all that Triumph parts, and I found this old front fender plate pedestrian striper that had this old letter writing on it that said the Rainmaker. And I was like, man, that's just too cool. I was like, I stuck it on the motorcycle. And still got a lot of traction. I'm going to actually bring it out to Born Free this year. A lot of guys are like super like into it. And Dave said, Mike Davis said that, it's an open invite. Bring it as long as it's a free unit Triumph. And I was like, so I'm going to bring the David Mann replica. I'm going to bring the Rainmaker out there, and we're just going to have a blast.
That's great, man. And I didn't know that story at all. I think that's fantastic. So.
Oh yeah.
And thanks, Roland, for throwing that out, because I'm sure there's a ton of great stories that came after that challenge came out.
Oh yeah, and some of the other builders are doing some amazing things. I was just like, I wanted to take it just to, I don't know, just a step further, do something dumb. I always put my foot in my mouth. I was like, it is what it is.
Right. No, it keeps life fun. That's good. Well, Jared, thank you so much for spending the time with me. Thank you for sharing your stories and of good and bad, and it just proves that life, no matter what it throws at you, you still got a chance to do something excellent.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and then just like I said, for everybody, just go on to Forgotten Angels, Florida.org. Check them out. If you want to donate, if you don't want to buy a raffle ticket, you just want to donate to the organization, you can donate right to their website. But if you want raffle tickets, go right onto www.weemsmotorco.com, raffle tab. You can go in there. As soon as the raffle opens, it'll be published out online on Instagram, Facebook. Right now, the tab's not open and available, but you can go in there and read the rules and regulations and find out what you're going to be winning.
Right. And Jared, just let me know when that comes out, because we'll repost that on our page as well, too, just to make sure everybody knows where they can help.
Outstanding. We'll definitely do.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much for your time. And everybody listening, hey, thank you so much for listening to another episode. We never know what we're going to get here, but I'm extremely happy, Jared, that we got the time to sit down together, bud.
Outstanding.
All right. Have a great night. Bless you, my friend.
Yep.
See you, man.